The mirror was found shattered, but the reflection inside was still moving. It shouldn't have been possible. The footage, recovered from a police body cam, was never meant to be seen by the public. What it captured in those final seconds defied every rule of nature. At precisely 3:12 a.m., officers entered a small apartment in Hollow Creek. The windows were locked. The doors sealed from the inside. No footprints. No struggle. No blood. Only a broken mirror, standing upright, as if it had never fallen. When they shined their lights toward it, something shifted in the reflection. Not dust. Not movement from the room. It was responsive. Like something trapped within the glass was aware of them. Every piece of evidence that night was logged, except one. The reflection. Because when they tried to capture it on film, the image changed. Faces appeared. Faces that didn't belong to anyone who had ever lived there. The last frame from the recovered tape still exists. It shows the mirror, still cracked. And within its reflection, a hand pressed against the inside of the glass. Human, but translucent. As if made of smoke and memory. Investigators reported seeing movement behind their own reflections in the following days. Some refused to speak. One officer quit the force the very next morning, claiming that every mirror he looked into was slightly delayed. As though his reflection was watching him, instead of copying him. The object was labeled as evidence number 47C. Classified under unexplained phenomena. Moved to a private facility for observation. Days later, the facility experienced a total power failure. When lights were restored, the mirror was gone. 2 months after that incident, another mirror appeared. Same carvings along the frame. Same fractured edge. Same eerie design of vines etched into the glass surface. But this one was discovered hundreds of miles away, in an abandoned motel. Locals say anyone who stares into it long enough begins to see their own eyes blink separately. First one, then the other, until their reflection stops moving entirely. The body remains still. But the reflection keeps breathing. Experts dismissed it as superstition. Until one of their own vanished. A paranormal researcher who took the mirror home for testing. His wife found his camera still recording. The mirror, unbroken. And his reflection, still standing in it. This is not folklore. Every piece of what you are about to hear is based on recovered footage, eyewitness testimony, and official documentation. Names have been changed for privacy. Locations redacted for safety. We have traced the object through decades, across homes, museums, and secret collections. And with each new owner, the same fate repeats. They begin to hear voices when no one is near. They see movement in reflections that shouldn't move. They feel a presence standing just behind the glass. Whispering their name when the lights go out. And now, after all these years, the mirror has resurfaced again. New footage has emerged, footage that should not exist. Footage showing the reflection still alive. If you think it's just a story, keep watching. Because what you're about to see will make you question every reflection you've ever trusted. And before we begin, ask yourself, would you dare look into it? Tonight, we uncover the cursed mirror that no one can escape. The object that traps your reflection, and feeds on what it finds there. For decades, it has changed hands, passed from collector to collector, family to family. Each one convinced they could contain it, control it, or at least explain it. But no one ever has. We'll reveal the family that vanished after buying it. How they smiled for a final photograph. And how their reflections refused to leave the mirror long after their bodies were gone. We'll take you inside the ritual that bound it. A ceremony carried out in secret by those who believed they could contain the thing within the glass. They were wrong. What they released never left. And finally, we'll show you the recording no one was ever meant to watch. The one recovered from the home of the last known owner. Minutes before their disappearance. The tape was found still running. Facing the mirror. We have pieced together every fragment. Every witness account. And every trace of evidence that survived the years of silence. Some of it has never been made public, until now. Stay until the end. Because the final part might change the way you see your own reflection. Every reflection hides something. This one just learned how to look back. Our story begins in a forgotten corner of Hollow Creek, a town most maps no longer bother to mark. Time moves slower here. The air smells of rain, and the streets remember more than they should. Inside an antique shop at the edge of the square, among shelves of cracked porcelain and rusted clocks. Something waited behind a drape of gray dust, a mirror unlike any other. It was tall. Victorian. Carved with twisting vines that seemed to coil tighter the longer you looked. The glass was slightly tinted, as though it had absorbed too much of what it once reflected. No one knew how long it had been there. The owner, an old man whose eyes never quite met yours, claimed he didn't remember receiving it. He only knew one thing: it should never be uncovered after midnight. That evening, Elena Moore, an artist from the city, wandered in. She was searching for inspiration, for something old to restore, something that carried a story. Her friends called her a collector of forgotten things. She said later that the mirror called to her, not in words, but in the strange pull she felt standing before it. A subtle warmth. A presence that made the air around her feel alive. The shopkeeper noticed her interest. He warned her with a trembling voice. Never look at it at midnight. Elena smiled. She thought it was just part of the charm, a salesman's trick to add mystery to an old piece of glass. She bought it for the price of a meal and carried it home that same night. Her apartment sat above her studio, an open space filled with sketches, unfinished canvases, and the faint smell of paint thinner. She placed the mirror against the far wall where the light could reach it by morning. At first, it seemed ordinary. But the more she looked, the more she noticed the imperfections. A faint shimmer beneath the surface, like liquid metal trying to move. And there was something else. Her reflection didn't feel like her own. She told friends later that it felt as though the mirror were breathing. When she walked away, she swore she heard it sigh. That night, as the city fell quiet, Elena stayed up late painting, her brushes moving in rhythm with the storm. The mirror stood silently behind her, covered with a cloth. But at exactly midnight, the cloth slipped. Elena turned toward it. Her own reflection stared back, tired, distracted. Yet, there was a delay. For a brief moment, the reflection didn't follow. It hesitated. Elena frowned, stepped closer. The glass shimmered faintly as though rippling underwater. She blinked. The ripple vanished. She thought she imagined it. She told herself it was exhaustion. But what she didn't know was that by uncovering the mirror that night, she had awakened something that had been silent for years. Something that had been waiting to be seen. Elena laughed nervously and turned away, never noticing that her reflection remained facing forward, still watching her. By morning, the mirror looked harmless again. But the air in the studio had changed. And somewhere, deep within the glass, something had begun to stir. The next morning, Elena decided to mount the mirror. She cleared a space on her studio wall, a place where she could see it while she worked. The light struck its surface just right, revealing small scratches across the glass that looked almost deliberate. As if someone had tried to carve words into it, then stopped halfway. She didn't think much of it. Artists notice details, they imagine patterns where there are none. Still, she cleaned the glass carefully, wiping away dust until her own reflection returned, clear and perfect. But the perfection didn't last. It began with small, almost forgettable moments. A brush falling when no one was near it. A door she swore she had closed standing slightly ajar. The feeling, impossible to explain, that the room wasn't quite empty. At first, she laughed it off. Days in isolation can distort the mind. Long hours, quiet rooms, and the rhythm of creation, they play tricks. That's what she told herself. Then the whispers began. Soft. Unclear. Like her name spoken through another person's breath. Always from the same direction, the corner where the mirror hung. She searched for the source. Checked her phone. Her speakers. Even her windows. Nothing. The more it happened, the more she needed proof, or reassurance. So she began recording herself while she worked. She told her viewers it was for an art project. In truth, she wanted to see if the strange moments were real, or a sign she was losing control. The first recording showed nothing unusual. Until she slowed the playback. That's when she saw it. Her reflection didn't move at the same time she did. It was behind her, half a second slower. Just long enough to be wrong. And in that tiny moment, as her reflection caught up, the mouth in the mirror whispered her name. She turned the camera off immediately. Watched the footage again. The whisper wasn't there the second time. Every night after that, she recorded again. Searching for answers she hoped not to find. And with every new video, the reflection seemed clearer. The colors brighter. The details sharper. It was as if the mirror wasn't showing her reflection anymore, but another version of her. A version that was awake when she wasn't. One night, the reflection didn't match her at all. Elena looked up from her canvas, her reflection was still facing down. Then, slowly, it lifted its head. She froze. Her breath caught. And then, just as suddenly, the reflection returned to normal. She told herself it was exhaustion again. That the mind can mislead the eyes when fear begins to take hold. But fear has a way of being right. Frame by frame, she noticed something else. A faint figure behind her reflection, blurred, standing just beyond the edge of the glass. It wasn't her. It wasn't anyone in the room. Yet, it moved every time she did. From that night on, she could no longer paint without the mirror watching her. The reflection became her shadow, mimicking, lingering. Waiting for her to look away. When she finally covered it again, the whispers stopped. But at midnight, she woke to the sound of something breathing in the dark. And when she looked toward the mirror, the cloth was on the floor. But this mirror wasn't ordinary. It carried a story, older, darker, and far more tragic than anyone who owned it ever realized. Records trace it back to 1874, to a craftsman named Arthur Holloway. Holloway was known in London for his meticulous work, carving mirrors and furniture for the wealthy elite. But when his wife, Clara, died of pneumonia, something in him broke. He stopped taking orders. Stopped speaking to anyone. And locked himself away in his workshop for 6 months. When he finally emerged, he carried with him a single piece. A tall Victorian mirror unlike any he had made before. He told his neighbors it was a memorial. That if he looked into it long enough, he could see Clara again. But according to the journals found after his death, he wasn't simply remembering her. He was speaking to her. Local folklore says Holloway turned to the Victorian spiritualist movement. Seances, mirror scrying, spirit photography. He became convinced that mirrors were not reflections at all, but windows. Fragile glass between our world and another. In October 1875, neighbors reported screams coming from the workshop. By dawn, the building was gone, burned to the ground. Holloway's body was found with his hands pressed against molten glass. As though he tried to pull something, or someone, through. The mirror survived the fire, nearly untouched. No one could explain how. It was recovered by a local collector, then sold, quietly, through private auctions. Every recorded owner after that met the same fate: madness, disappearance, or death. In 1921, a woman named Margaret Denham acquired the mirror during a London estate sale. Within weeks, she began hearing her late son's voice. She wrote about him, appearing in the glass. His eyes dark, his mouth whispering words she couldn't understand. Her final journal entry read, "He says he's not my son anymore." Margaret's body was found 3 days later. Her eyes were missing. Glass fragments were found embedded in her palms. After that, the mirror vanished for nearly 50 years. No record. No trace. Until 1973, when it resurfaced in a private collection in France. The owner, an art historian, claimed he could hear crying whenever moonlight touched the glass. 2 months later, he was found dead. The coroner listed his cause of death as heart failure. But his assistant said his body was still warm when the mirror's reflection blinked. Each attempt to study it ended the same way, with missing footage or missing people. In a declassified document from 1985, a government team conducted what they called Project Reflection. They sealed the mirror in a lab, exposed it to different light spectrums, and recorded the results. Subject shows movement independent of environmental conditions. Reflection responded to visual stimuli 5 seconds before human action. The project was terminated after one of the researchers vanished. His last log entry read, "It's looking at me before I move." No one knows where the mirror went after the facility was shut down. Some say it was destroyed. Others claim it was auctioned off quietly, under a new name. But one thing remains consistent in every account. The mirror never disappears completely. It simply waits for someone new to find it. And somehow, it always finds the ones who are grieving. They say the mirror feeds on grief until it owns your reflection. By the time Elena began noticing the strange behavior in her studio, she decided to record everything. Every brush stroke, every shadow, every sound. What you're about to hear are excerpts from her private footage. Files recovered from a damaged SD card days after her disappearance. Day 1, April 6th. Just documenting my work week. That's all. Nothing weird, yet. Day 1, no anomalies. No movement. No sound. Only silence. Day 3, April 8th. Okay, this is weird. I keep thinking I'm seeing myself smile when I'm not. Day 3. She begins noticing inconsistencies. Her reflection no longer synchronized. Day 5, April 10th. It's like, it's closer. I didn't move the frame, but the reflection, it's right up against the glass. By the 5th day, the reflection appears to be aware of her camera. Watch carefully. It looks directly into the lens. Day 6, April 11th. It said my name last night. I thought it was the radio. But when I turned it off, it kept going. She reports hearing her own voice echoing from the mirror at night. But slowed down. Reversed. Day 7, April 12th. I woke up and I saw something standing behind me, in the reflection. But when I turned around, it was gone. Day 7. The reflection now exhibits autonomous movement. That was the final recording before her camera was found. Still running, its battery drained, facing the mirror. The recovered footage shows the reflection walking deeper into the darkness until it vanishes completely. But just before the file ends, look behind you. Would you keep watching? Or would you destroy the mirror? After 7 days of recordings, Elena stopped responding to messages. Friends assumed she'd gone on a short trip, or lost herself in her work. Until one of them, a close friend named Marina, decided to visit. Elena? Are you home? It's me. Marina. The studio door was locked from the inside. No sound. No movement. Except for the faint ticking of her wall clock, frozen at 3:17 a.m. Elena? Oh my God. No trace of Elena. Her clothes, her phone, her camera equipment, all still there. But no sign of her anywhere. And then, she saw it. No, 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 it's from inside. That's from inside. Oh my God. Marina swore she saw Elena's reflection standing behind her. But when she turned around, the room was empty. She captured it on camera, faint but visible. A shape behind the glass. A movement. When investigators enhanced the footage, they confirmed something terrifying. Elena's reflection was still there. She was inside the mirror, tapping to get out. Experts examined the video. They ruled out editing, ruled out manipulation. But what none of them could explain was the sound that followed. The moment Marina turned off the camera, the mirror's reflection shifted again. The handprint was gone. But in its place, another set of prints appeared. I swear I heard her say my name. From behind the glass. Marina left the apartment at dawn. The mirror was collected by police for examination. But before it reached the evidence facility, the transport vehicle crashed on an empty road. The driver was missing. The mirror was found unbroken, resting upright on the grass. That wasn't the last time the mirror was seen. Since that night, reports of the same ornate frame have surfaced across different cities. Pawn shops, abandoned houses, private estates. Always appearing without record of purchase. Always near someone who would soon vanish. And every sighting comes with the same pattern. One reflection missing. Some say Elena's still inside. Others say she's become part of what lives there. Either way, the mirror never lets go of what it takes. They thought they could break the curse, but you can't cleanse what was never meant to be pure. The investigator, Marcus Hale, a paranormal researcher, sets up his camera in Elena's abandoned studio. Dust floats through the air like drifting ash. The mirror, still upright against the wall, reflects only the dim glow of his candles. The words were traced back to 1874, written by the mirror's creator himself, in the final hours before he vanished. Each line was meant to bind a spirit, to silence its hunger. But no one realized the spirit was listening. As Marcus chants, the camera zooms in on the mirror. The reflection begins to warp. The room darkens, shadows crawl up the walls, stretching unnaturally long. One candle extinguishes. Then another. A whisper threads through the silence, faint, echoing. Elena. Marcus stops, his voice trembling. He leans closer, whispering into the recorder. There's something inside. It's watching me. The mirror suddenly ripples, like disturbed water. Faces begin to appear one after another, pale, hollow-eyed, screaming without sound. A child. A woman. A man in old clothing. Their mouths open wider until the glass itself begins to vibrate. The air thickens with layered chanting, some in Latin, some in other unidentifiable tongues. Wind howls even though every window is closed. The floorboards creak under invisible steps. Marcus's hands shake as he throws salt in a circle and continues the ritual. His candle flames stretch sideways. Then, a violent gust, all lights snuff out. For a full 10 seconds, only the sound of his rapid breathing remains. Then silence. And then, a faint tap on the glass. When the lights returned, the camera was still recording. The mirror stood in the same spot. The candles had melted into the floorboards. The salt circle was broken. And Marcus Hale was gone. Cut to the camera's final frame. The mirror glows faintly, showing the outline of Marcus's horrified face inside the glass. If you were the one who found that camera, would you dare watch what it recorded? 1 month after Marcus Hale disappeared, a video surfaced online. No upload source. No timestamp. No metadata. Just the title. The Mirror Ritual, Watch at Your Own Risk. Marcus's voice, distorted by heavy interference. He's whispering fragments of the ritual, the same words from before, but now layered with echoing laughter in the background. The footage flickers. For a moment, Marcus's camera turns toward the mirror, only this time, there's someone else standing behind him. A tall figure in the reflection, featureless, its head tilted slightly too far to one side. When viewers pause the frame, they notice something horrifying. The figure isn't in the real room, only in the reflection. No one knows who uploaded the video. But within hours, it spread across horror forums, dark web archives, and reaction channels. Most were taken down for disturbing content. The few that remained gained millions of views. Cut to reenactment of online comments. Did anyone else see the face behind Marcus at 042? Look closely at the right corner. The mirror's reflection doesn't match the room. I paused it. And I swear, I saw myself staring back. The video became a modern legend, people claiming that every time you watch it, the reflection inside subtly changes. Some said you could see your own face flicker inside for a split second, as if you were standing in Marcus's place. Those who watched it reported strange experiences. Monitors turning on by themselves. Lights flickering. A faint tapping noise whenever they passed a mirror. A man from Ohio claimed the reflection in his bathroom mirror smiled at him before he did. A woman from Manila said her reflection blinked twice while her eyes were still open. And a teenage boy in Germany was found unconscious in his room, the video still playing on repeat. His laptop screen showed the paused reflection of Marcus Hale, and 2 other figures behind him. Did you see it too? Go back to the footage. Look closely at the left corner. Some say if you stare long enough, you'll see yourself there too. Go ahead. Rewind it. See who's watching you. Don't turn around. But that video wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. So, next time you stand before your mirror, remember this story. Don't stare too long. Don't look too deep. Because sometimes, your reflection isn't yours anymore. They say the cursed mirror never stays in one place for long. That it moves from home to home, appearing wherever someone dares to search for it. The hum deepens into static. Faint whispers rise beneath the distortion, overlapping voices repeating, "Look closer." Which part chilled you the most? The whisper, or the reflection? Would you dare own this mirror? Or maybe, you already do. And to this day, no one knows where the cursed mirror is now.